Ah, elang ya da dire kalmal suadal ngutel te alle o suse ra ay betul maraklay ma rubul belaw mura bilum ebi raklay mar masila belaw mura adra olbira kalula representa senate maspikir House of Delegates mura marokuyel adala olbira kalulaw mura judiciary ma chief justice ngiray galaw marokul adala judiciary mura rokul other belaw nga sila Michael Belal mo subiral loreng sa press conference der el al tutaw tire kalmalo renga sulela amidial mo sabi ilmer el al tutaw and then with total mura rokul ministers in this morning ada malamol malo umalat ka president del of Island mo sabi el mira endre el al week Mokodi lela ko ay sinasimuli press conference next week, April 6, 2022. Segi dia lang mo dia ka press conference ra our ocean conference that's going to be April 13 ma 14. Moko man sa at media dalutan mo kapte segi dal April 6 next week Wednesday. Visual kung nga baby ra updates raw era da todo Istiate earlier minister sul mo update tayo ministry sector. Mungko tingin ko lo sa mlaringi sel launch sel kale dangar alet tiang mlaringi ra March 24 last Thursday lo subiral award ra Miss Janine Tewith $250 for her logo mlo sa eldro sel logo mlo explain ngi wase imalaaf lore kada ay kagidre kukaw ma angikal le sel tol dobang sel wasya kale damla mongar ale dam ay kakmal dingar arwel imad ko mangire dang may kagitil imad mo taw te morasers mo malala madal lomal mo sabi edal moringa kalet segi dia le kale dangar ale ka ale special launch si last Thursday madire kaldi ko ay silwase klukok ang malmol nga magit material maasal low magit tapos sabi iral mora ikakita le Long Island mo nga magit mo nga tentol available for them material nga otrolira sabi iral morsel Long Island ra klukok ra Thursday mo sabi iral low magit madamra nga sulela Governor Eos Rudim ra Koro State Government adala ako state mo si ilkongi mang to the permit to allow for them to have their magit rakluko kara Long Island. Dili kal komal masaro ko support kami umlaring sel safe program campaign ra yung eladi der sila March 26 sa Badong mlaring segi wal launching at declaration ra president mo el arag yang mo ensuring the security and safety ra adra bulur belaw magidal adra belaw mang segi dia mlaring launching mang mlaring ay gagidal car seat al tilo bada almlo len sabi edal sum mang usbe a car seat le the reminder kamil was bekla adra koy alwasi alla ablen sa nga president ra September 29 2021 Indir buli sa mustatal issue a citation malubeng ticket ra September 29, 2022. Mel al time ang ginadamla mo practice low seat belt sel nga al selamlay dire kal suko mga ngangal kal ngaryo ra 6 argil en girel nga ra car seat malubeng booster ang tingirel nga ngalel mang nga ra al selamlay if you're under 6. Manggel winner segi al car seat awarded Mr. and Mrs. Yoshihiro Ishikawa. Ang klelang algir al 6-month-old Chihiro Ishikawa. Tirigegi di amlong sel car seat matamalong nga sulela bentally to or material family and friends regi dal nga yang klela marigel tiramle donate taikal car seats kape esel car seats gida malmol diri kalon kita donation mga niya donation elabora pala Red Cross Society diri kal kutel te alwais lo sel 28th Police Academy laniya baseball tournament and fundraising at tiri te almomre kal weekend al malmle successful manglo sabi iral raise although the legal although damol nga selo ara uniform artir lunch when they're letir ka ul nga selo are bullies with patrol and other duties mang ngogiw tiay gidial 28th Basic Police Academy ang mo si iral Nung nga siya ulgire la our ocean OOC coming up. Mang tikutel te a level si akal mas kami ang clear marpakla adro ko ibol ngek mutir kay triel ko ngara police academy ilang ngani nga Melissa Amalay, Worley Andy, Sway Blodak, Derek Lacten Faustino, Jeremy Mesa Guillermin, Tyson Sadang Inasio, Usterson John, Elijah Rabulud Kasuma, Obak Math, Sigal Masang, Felix Mareb Jr., Isao Bimis, Amos Mitsuo, Jordan Mobile, Ryan Kabuy Ngiramanyor, Natasha Ator Oiterong, Mirna Palo, John Michael Pedro, Anthony Ngiramur Petit, Sienna N. A. Sato, Patricio Maskelkel, Pekla Iev, Lela Iev, okay, Mr. Matuola last name ringi. Mr. Beck at Matul. And Rallinson Ubaday. O masara support na kami lo artiral gira la fundraising artir. Also mga nga rong si Tiang mal kura sorry ral malamol malol nga sew and civil contact Tringal Commander artiral Libu Gibbons at 775-1685. Tilka nga niya instructor artiral Sergeant Sabino Kyota, madiri kal Deputy Instructor Officer Joey Sumor, ma-administrate siya na assistant al June o tirakla. So, kung sara te alam lo sa ikal mong klitiriyak mal proud that really wanted to mention them. Dili kal tara kura malungil ay sa wasi nga niya Mr. Esilong Ngiraywet, graduate tra University of Rukyus with a Bachelor in Business Administration. Congratulations sa Mr. Esilong Ngiraywet. And tirikal ilang mal-introduce sa Detective Lieutenant Mr. John Gabriel. Ebol sa PL Koradi Mokmusesel Girela event coming up April 1. April 1, 2022, Friday. Mo commemorate their ultimate sacrifice. Ang kagidale Willie Mays Tawai, ma-early da rong. Algira la balur pe la mo celebrate 10th anniversary pol si El Coradi mo musese
man musulang pais pa ministers Daisel sil kukol pali bustikal tablet derul finance telo pa ko abotri bum ko kitaru le ko lo tri ay mo mura program mamlo mura sel tutar fa Friday lo ba formation ma inspection boka boro kaya mo commemorate mo ano tira years of dedication ma service tira gilan sobra Czech Republic and untimely to no repusura wala magimo start sa gilid so ba formation pa inspection ma formation afternoon nagimo to walk and pigil ra plava police mura kuran drabing sa software field sa gilid sa gilid mon gator namin trau kora bukti dolam na to ra Q litigal terul el police sa dire di bustere pa me atra Q seguir el chil seguir ni kalau wadi bo melat ketir ay el guk temi pa service til bel sur ke ra bel ko sulak
madam masawla Detective Lieutenant Gabriel tia nagagidagel events lalongot adul gidela April 1 nga mo commemoration ra 10th year anniversary ra sige dal ultimate sacrifice ra kagidali officer Willie Mays taway ma officer early taro. Okay. Mata mal masulang kong you may be excused tak mo kasi kamasang detective lieutenant mlamo o teme da ilan morming say kagi dale ministry updates makma umura dele minister matuol oo yun.
Malungil tutaw Vice President, Ministers, marugul other belaw. Diswakal mo ko ra ako update rigid ra lurior nga ra ministry rigid. Makmamu ra WIOA. Diswakal mo mention at mong ako te el time nga niya group lagi blam modakyar se actually nga niya tablol so all contributes mo di. Sa WIOA nga niya tablol board nga ni sa local board mga niya state board. Yagil tablol al-ad ang alel mingitigay o mesagilo reder tel WIOA. Ang alel sa local board implement ra plan el state board ang na-developer ngi el Lorio Lubanggel ang gel kok managing director malun tao. Sa local board or Lubanggel tao implement sa plan of the setting. Sa plan typically ng warak kita 2 years into that plan. Magimorurong el ang because of COVID Amrigal ang bilski dati dal mo review sa plan o sa pungregel ko kuram lo ngas ngase malubong kuram lo robotak tel al last 2 years because of COVID. Mga ras ito kuram modify al sel sa gidal plan. Mauro ramra el al sil lubong gela minister udoy matimringi matimra kamam. Lubong gela gidal board lome sa gel ko kura sa el kura baby raurior malubong agi assess gel statistics simle happen because of no the already are at omes at mungara kura pa el program el sabed el kura mo ngase or tirgay gidal adal no the already malub tam laid off lobat tel gidal guk grant ra WIOA lomu ra probably June after abol mer kal to kura puwa dire kal so mo brief gidal nariya sel WIOA adire kan ngariya lol buto kagere Vice President at mong agel made ludo ta makarang ng rawrio ra WIOA matida briefing guk plagi mul mlara tao ngel guk kongara sa lurior was el al time mlarnya al dadu lubangel US Labor Department el mlolngi tertik musel 5-page reporting document tertir al sabede the modifying il dimo 2-page molbio tertirgel luguk adal dimna kal sabil submit application or til mobio tertil reapply jakal reapply wal assessor tir mong aldadur sa gitam laringi tamla ko ngi mang el al time at mamrur sel application namle 5 pages el motable page motagi mobio ter adal report ongerung at yang amor trigel adal dom kodor tik mut seasonal claimants el ngilu sel one el payment obis rigi WIO ngi tep mula kamam kodor tire la kobor obis tamatangit mo kom taang melal time ngani evaluation ma process lo meser tiro gut mong mo ngara tele lagel guk ngeswal mortir hindi kagi taswa kal announce ngiril akmo sa press akmo mistrital wabiel mo mal mo komakay gel required lo label may mong they must provide a gross income information from January 2020 to September 4th, 2021. A verification of gross income can be in the form of copies of checks received, invoices, ledgers, journals, and or written statements from the vendors, organizations, agencies, individuals that purchase the claimant's service products. Akmo mas kami ako makay lomsode lagi gid required documents and mo proof mo ka amral luluriol seasonal emlo de kaurerem magumlo mataarbasum aktire ke vice also kalo ay sala kukta tela flight morning flight tera aldo lo mugela China airline morning one flight el mera April 6 mang aldadu obangela Miss Ulay Tultul lagi dali SS el trigel guk mo sibil mora Taiwan el referral patients material return. Akire kal so mo ngani a flight el Minister of Yang di lungi lagu ay sagel flight sa Manila. Klo tutre lagu ay sagel flight sa ngara Manila May. Lembato kara adala osi ka tial el malar adrir el foreign workers el May. Munso kal mo kataklil waseng agiol ngit mong ilakam malar adamul mel tourist bomb through a simple process. Como tabde announcement ra adamiu el waseng 30 days, el kusigra waitress, and whatever job the vacancy announcement require. Motabdi misal lapsi the local club say, el samal process ra proper provisional visa kamilo mangala Minister Uduy, mulsira adamil ngarasko gilmay. Maktimas kami agel kukora gumeseng flights el maral may. April ang anya April 1, 8, 15, 22, 29. Agabek alakal with Friday, Mr. Obiang. May nga niya 6, 13, 20, 27. June nga niya 3, 10, 17, 29. July 1, 8, 15, 29, 22, 29. August 5, 12, 19, 26. Agigil dates every Friday nga niya flight May. Makmal mga madawra adablo rogut malskum nga niya admiul mobile May. Agigil open a transit through Bangladesh. Malangania admil ngara Bangladesh ngara ngut albulul motura Manila mege gida dates sul ilospe bera officer gidra labor mal motabdi announcement tergmiu legotel giram lol tautring lul bela wasel mugdosi gra adar bela ul momita gege del lurior yaskum de galdu uler sig de logodel club say malu bangania ku kora engineer ng adam al gukto dengel mal de adar bela al morging la ania rolelan se edel fast track ay gida process kamiu dik malulungit mera obis gida mada da don nga ser kamiu sa last tangannya la RPPL 10-32 ma 9-22 ma 10-34 ay kaigel la lol nga ser adra belaul mo sabira kombalil employer tiras kum kotiro badra PCC en sabiul double salary ngel ada didactring ra GR tir kaw mong seguida ko tara gel kuk ngesul gi mo olngo seura kay kalom balit mo al sugum ngani adal tilo gidele PCC balum narakyat team lo ba certificate ngi e ka hire ngil mara kom balir gaw en sebe olngo seura ko raji artir gaw kadidak tagel salary tir mong ti sugal mo seguida vice last gidele adal ngara Dubai a finaling marma end the sel 6-month kora expo material amera first week ra April well all time at winding down ra gidale pavilion ra gid but the close accounts are tir e pagel restaurant lokle de old local may kopman sulang
Mataka wa ti alal ko kung sa minister state ang angay announcement ngi so will be undecided at the table
Man saule advice saul mangututan mo kami other belar mo other media di one announcement na ka kagidele adadra Peter Adalbay ngara Japan Embassy mom edawra Tuesday next week April 7 afternoon di Morira Capitol geva mom edawl ending he still has to present the credentials of the Emperor Siabal which is not a fast process of the Mira Emperor mom de edad so it could take a month or two ding seguida ko the announcement as you know Peter adolbira well di adolbira adra mo Sige afternoon amo mal masumul mo dahil adol bira ba blay kabram sula.
so sel data for sel omingedar mo ambassador gidel masyabal Mr. Peter Adalbay mo Tuesday April 5 2022 at 2 p.m. Tadi mo rin nga rule mo dara sila grounds sa office president. Thank you. Eladong mo ra Minister of Finance nga niya ko update rin along state.
Hey, good morning. Thank you, Vice President, for a chance to give a short report. related to what Minister Mitul was saying, we are making some changes to the program for the Cross Act, and we will be making announcements shortly for those people who were previously under the WIOA program, and for those people who discontinued receiving funds from that program, will be able to apply to the Cross Act office in Munes after our announcement. We did receive additional funding from OEK, and that will allow us to fund our existing program through June. And the amount of money we have available will be dependent on how many of the WIOA applications that we receive. So that is something we'll be announcing very soon. We're still finalizing the numbers, but we did receive additional money from Congress to use in this program. I don't have much to report on the Digital Residency Office. We are continuing to process applications, and we have received additional money, but nothing maybe interesting that the press may want to hear. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so last little update. We'll hear from Director Sher from the Ministry of Health and Human Services.
Sulang Vice President malungil total morarbekal adaloring sertal press conference. The only update or maybe an announcement to all announcing in Morabalu was saying mlarmut til resume Michael Pat sergamam Michael yara vaccination. For some time Miguram los toblang lo dal sebamam los perachim. Mang loyal bola kabasyo mang ngamurel al Friday ng Bekal Friday ra podoril mo 6 story yagimru la a vaccine sel CHC clinic ra kamam across Ragoro Elementary School ra from 4 story to 6 story so trial adrabul dirkal nga booster retir even if al dirkal nga ya first or second dose retir we still have vaccine available al morar other rokoy makmaldi encourage sarar adal wase en koramara la klol segadal may material dirkal nga booster retir please may mga booster kami a booster dirkal available al morarangal kal 12 and up marsugum nga rangal kal dirkal nga booster retir at this time mlamo temiril mala booster please mera Friday ra fodoril ra segidal clinic across Ragor Elementary School. Other than that, hindi ako mal-update nga ka I know wasing komal amalar cell weekly sit rep will provide igel cook number cases sel kita identify but kada tidul madangil wasa kada o mesage sergis ang gola maralal morio mang that's not to sell wasing kada lak cycle cook tora prevention dolamol continue apply kita tora prevention Gora di kaya dia sebel announce lang ang question is sebel.
So lang, Director Madraisaw. Okay, maldiwan raw erak turnover al mura media. Akti so alo giutial press conference of course mereng asulela First Lady Valerie R. Whip singegi dia chair sele safe committee SAFE seatbelts are for everyone. Ngogiw segi di committee which is committee bato ka intergovernment agencies mga NGOs like Red Cross, Palau Chamber of Commerce, lunsis para alseling musabi edal logiw segi di safe committee give out tay kal donate car seats. Madi ko nga tial press conference sa Loreng Seringira Adikal ikrel belaw madik tungklir tigel donors ra karsit salit tamal masaul mang bolo tingek masadal malmol malospe akarsit sa mga asil ko ka mo rolya another donation tigel lobengela bentlitour ngara marigel nga Yosko Kodeb Karet Martin Joy Toribiong Misty Malsol Desi Rabey Suino Hallie Sumang Bilinggia, Pangikoy, I don't have her name, Geraldine and Tangalbath, Candy Osima, Dela Dangir Sway, Diakon Aaron and Juliet Ramangsaw, Lorna Nabayama Garrity, Madel Kyota on behalf of Islanders for Christ Youth Group, Antonia Newton, Michelle Craig Hotel, Google Masters, Velma Orucon Benson, Kelly Rulugod, Ivan Butler, madiri kal nga anonymous mledone talgirel sa ikidil car seat tam togyuti at orang asulir for malmalat karangal karapa abalur bela and their support. Adim legegi di elan sa the turn over ma medium for their questions sa kumsulak.
Tayo Vice President ko ministers Harvick Laaf. Agariga mo Director of Public Health. Director Tilob Cell BSL Directive. Kami mlutro kadi mos modilo sa siyang mulmongral girela tial mask requirements.
Okay. So, cell directive 40-22 tilo dara last week. Amal klaro sering cell previous cell directive. The only difference is with the directive tilo dara last week, and no longer we are requiring outdoor mask. Hindi agi mandate outdoor mask. Indoor mask, direct kalda the mandate ring. The only time agad mo mandate indoor mask, azuguma indoor gathering is 50 or more at. Okay, kada direct kal mandate mask wearing ra school regardless of was it telal adang ra classroom marogul medical facilities which include ra hospital may rogul private clinics may community health center ay gaya require indoor masking regardless of was it telang ra adang ra alsel. The all other indoor gathering also gumong 50 or more ko mask if 50 or less and they mandate ringi. We recommend it. So what it really boils down to an individual choice. We're not requiring also less than 50. So we recommend the law saying you can wear a mask to protect yourself, to take that extra step to protect yourself. Ayaya PSL lot Mursel directive last week. Okay.
Follow up per se, tilang extended more sel. Do you more office buildings sa other government at yung nga this question government offices take for example post office or oblabulis di mo your ministers atang nga tama.
Oo, isang mga maldi mo your hindi mandate business ma-office. The only time that mandates come in, also may gigidal indoor gathering mo more than 50 or more people.
Kaniga clarify kaniga mo ay lobbies na government. Of course private tali Nangani niya ay gele hindi kasi met mo na post office at sumuko mas. Kami so kung hindi ka mandate ta government itlang bulak mo ngani nga choice na ka post office sabihan. Dili ako mas kadang.
So the directive adi akal mandate ra government facilities except the hospital. Nga rin mass gathering of kirem low mask of tura government facility. It hindi lang uklar al sel say because we're not targeting luaseng rangal building, we're just going by the number of people nga al sel pasyo.
Di mo question nga kal directora Sera January la start tial search and kada amne sendrawan ra sample mo ra CDC luasay tiang rarak tial Omicron variant ng siya kadam lang result derni quite curious to know.
So malmeo the mga apologize le hindi ka capacity del mrula sequence mokodol durok kalmura wa CDC. So it goes through the Hawaii State Lab and then mura CDC. Al timing diral officially announced ang Minister of Health alwaseng ay ging ngarang klelal variant because sa kada diri kang bingila confirmation. So hopefully by next week ang most of mga confirmation. I know waseng bato ka al sila community waseng B1 and B2 but I let's wait for the confirmation ng CDC and also it'll announce so that it's accurate information.
Why say that malbato ka waseng ngaring ya platong result. And din dira katukura Ministry of Health and Natwo.
Why say lagi nila confirmation na CDC.
Tamlaw ay selmel waseng marunga confirmation.
Oh, it's Omicron and then we have to wait till waseng B1 and B2.
Okay, so lang. Aklam mo. Vice President ang tiyang agel girela trip pra President. na presidente amlo trip hindi ko na dia kadangel kami mo ais luasi tial trip pra presidente ngal trip ang mlomitra wataang ngara mo at etro wataw la banggelel mo
Man masaul adi sabi kalau ay sani wase terwat ang aul banggel mo endi iring kagi dal mira next yung boto tingak masengara ko ramal mle mokte kara trip partir adi clouding nga kawasing la trip Mr. President loban tria other olvira lulaw mle senators sangabaw mas senators suno from the Senate edi kalul banggel ang kagi dali Delegate Ralul ka, ma-delegate Marino from the House of Delegates at mong ma-triple wing three other all binakalulaw. Ding kasi kalau ay maseng ramle alin di ako I mean di Minister Victor Ulbangget mga Minister Victor di exactly clear was ang ramle what was the trip about madolong ito madal mera next week about ko ram ng wilom so din
Saule Vice President. Awan na kani ka kita di elbang alugura our ocean conference. Kerti dia kora di mengira kabelmento asel kukura mo brief kita tele tiang le asel dora rablu ngari o mengi kita rablu meng tara olang luasi kata meter tial time. At this point in time, kata kora namang betangel luasi terwat ang ako ra VIP silme sa siya VIP sa ako ra olom te kabelmento ra bebi rablu mlame malu tu kora argester kita kora ruwa Leonardo DiCaprio ame ay kang ngani abla ngay ngak lang list si mi share el time
o mamasala Mr. Casoler amal ungilal kadim ek mo ngul masang minister of state minister ay tarong polisi el responding kay gidi ako ra ngi ma minister Victor te kita terul kora ungara arsel lurior oos
Masarap rin Mr. Casoler. Del work protocol working group our oceans. Kama di dilo man tiritigil bilateral partners. Matigil international government, intergovernmental organizations mga UN. So far hindi kagi mga tukol may masit nga niya guest ruwa hindi kagi adblem mention artir. Tila nga bay di bor adra Stephen Victor, Minister Victor. So kung nga area artir kama makukti ang artir ada government. Government officials. So lang.
Dili ka kurang clear adra kabelmento ngo dala kabelmento may
For example nga niya Prime Minister Samuel May. Ding dega di yura a flight ma especially mal challenge at legal protocol COVID-19 when they return home. Ma flights man dire kan fully booked so sa ida nga niya present FSM May. Ding I can get final list give me mo Friday siya cut off. And we'll provide you a list maybe next week. Masip tumal tira heads of government sa Merbelaw.
so lang di mo tul dito mo ra erak mo tial may sa next mora minister tourism minister kam kora di ay seleng kato kora na mesra teletera blul adal kora na mo is up to kora travel mang osengel bela ra mu tul kora korok kertial to kora tourism wangara outlook ni how ngara ka do mesri la
Sula kami sa malungi la kadim. We're continuously open critical partners sa gidal outsider belaw. Di na mo blakatakal mo Taiwan tara destination el domesining diakabol mreedal open el arak. Mang ulan direk mring la dola flights leng dirgal ease up agel regulations are as a matter of fact require other belaw 10 days el ngara korawal self home management or quarantine raw eral borablu even though gidam na completely open ma protocol gidam na mobayot di sige dal kukuan destination na le so kal mo click mo Taiwan ada open ringi simply for tourist ra Taiwan si actually tara ko to klol harbor tourist gidal ngara Europe Mamrigel ma Australia. Sera pre-COVID, and over 60% of passengers at China Airline actually hindi kal adra Taiwan. Tara adal nga ra Europe, ma Mamrigel ma Australia. Leng quick turnaround. That said, agi ko ramla refocus dagim sal concentrate ra tayo ang lang. Hindi ka malmol nga niya relationship with ma China airline, I'll make sure nga niya regular flights al kasangil ang 1 or 1 month. I'll make sure our patients sergid our referral malmol malmaral ma Taiwan. Anex algi mo misring ang Korea. Nga niya aldadu ongoing, possibly start at charter flights in Mora Korea. Unang mla niya Zoom call nga kama Minister Obiang Minister Aitaro Lobantir trigel ko respective ministers ra Korea. Hindi mo put on hold sa Christmas mo January mla niya security. El alblabol mere ka secure na mo kora biota dong odurtir. Makadome sa after oceans el mo mo start gimo odurtir local tour agents. El possibly lomo charter. Lendere kalsal mal open up pablurir. A challenge lagi de Mr. Kosole hindi kal abelam na mo mesakal directive lagi amla ease ra travel in and out. Ngigel bulul bodo through ngin merbelo amringel. Melang ako tel biotol merbelo lang ambrul amringel. Self flight tel ngara agi de legwam el May el na open up Manila. Adre kal el open up egel traffic through those destinations. Momta besel morera blum tokar adram rigel ngarbelo lang. Terge fly through Guam. Egel live aboards. Actually, egel koram gegel gombalil mle focus ra Western market mrigel. Actually doing quite well at all time. Adi tal mringel domkorok ngel lang terge ngara Asian market. Sel domes ra gegel Hong Kong Macau andre kan mringel kadamla semlosi ka flights el May. Legal return policy ra Hong Kong Macau masina dir mringel etitwal. Ngania aldadu dire kalobangela Singapore. We can market all we want nila kaskogi and karmi. That's what we're working on is additional flights are United. Hopefully with the gel aldadu Minister Obiang amru lobangela Singapore ma Korea and sa edel dire kal start flights through those ding so isil was at Taiwan at tergib atitwal. Leng egel restrictions are tira dire kal ease for us. Bring pass through them. I hope that helps.
So lang minister matuli.
If I could just add, so next week, when outreach more information about AOC that who are we expecting again numbers. And for now, and saka low ISIL was at 76 countries registered so far in May. 269 non-state actors. NGOs, private sector. Mang dirikal nga niya ako ongitan lang lo silbol nga additional flights to accommodate ra. Artiran meng wal kwati meral diom po.
Tirgi mari hali krityang. Tirgal met mo kirgir.
Itang hotel sigi da nga ngi akura. Ani ga ang kalik basta te ala minister mo to man.
So lang tumokke hotel. I can share this. Delegation ng Rigel am nang PPR completely.
Delegation ng Rigel.
Delegation ng Rigel am okay ra PPR. Tergam nang usir Rogir. Malitil tang. Baby ra Trigel Youth amora desagel. Leng walking distance almora convention. Agi osi gagel hotel me the walking distance teatro ra environment mo damala sa or promote less carbon emissions. Ngani aldado lobangela Paleja, Central Hotel, West Plaza, Libu, PRR. Dire kan ngani trigel guknan non-government, trigel action guk titilbuk. They're all over the place. Di trigel guk ngala government ang regigid respective hotels. Ang regel guk ngala magi make sure ang kadabuk or trigel heads of states.
So mention PPR tidak belakang silgir PPR makam hugere mo ais. Obama ang maralmay alme mo kira PPR.
For security reasons ang di ako dangay. Actually, well, personally, hindi ako nilip mong May. Maybe sabi irar adra Minister Victor ang laba yola ba aldadu.
I see.
I can tell you mo delegation ng Rigel amora PPR.
If I may add, mention the security. Kaya kita le director ako ng gaya head security ang OC. Cell response ra minister mutu lamral giril waisay. Kita umrang alwase balwa mal tiya ka budol balu tiya karwa ko terrorist attack ditirgal tira tongubet sel okya kargi dal may angara balu ngania way gaya mang mal maring rela security gaya dal make sure segi the level security mal high level of security mo tirgal mal ngarbabal up agir da lol taw taringi lang mal ko expected til okya kargi dal may sula
Aladik follow over siya mal di masada tigil nga outside may tigiriga ko siyang morning ako ra briefing mo ada blu ko siya what to expect ngaling convenience sa amer kami mo klorong mi siyang morning ako ra amora blu siya morong sira this coming weeks.
Oy, amal masawra malungin gede. Mr. Suala daw bang next week. Sige di alam presidente mo nga gagid the press conference sa Wednesday. Di sige di the week before alam bolsta tara adal mele ko rin so siya tamusta tal arrive 10th of April. Maybe even sa mga mera 9th. In next week sige di aldo dul kita mo aldo wasing what to expecting mara. Mategi di luro rin ya Bureau of Public Safety ay dal ko na traffic routes sila convoy pamal masal adrablu ra patients sa kami coloring ra kami ay gitel ko ra malnong nila sila exercise lagi naman para metal gibel si LD flow at traffic.
Okay. Last question nga kamo ra Ministry of Finance. Minister of President ra idili sa mga sabel. He signed the RPPL 11-18. And part of that new law, $100,000 more digital residency office, but it's not only for the DR office. Direct mo help para pabira programs, revenue generating programs. Can you explain what are those programs, or what's the use of this $100,000 exactly?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Kasole, for that question. You are correct. In the recently approved bill, there was a rider for $100,000 for the Ministry of Finance to pursue some of these initiatives that we are actually undertaking right now. The money does cover some of our expenses for digital residency. It will also cover some of the expenses that we are expecting resulting out of this private bank law that Congress is approving. And we do have another initiative regarding what we think will be a stable coin for the Republic. And those all require expenses on our part that we cannot absorb internally by assigning staff. So that was our request through the President to Congress, and they granted that request for support. So that is correct what you're saying.
Malungil to tawe. Namobet tawre rekam la askar gul kena aligan nga kambes. Just a follow-up question, Minister Udoy. Nga rasor sa 100,000 and le atisyo lultaw dila ko support total.
We at this point we believe we will collect over 100,000 from the digital residents that are applying and have been approved by the end of the fiscal year. So that more than enough covers that appropriation.
Okay. Cellular regulation at tele digital residency namo amre kang warawang ratate.
We are still drafting the regulations, as well as the other documents we need to set up the office. But yeah, that is underway.
The follow-up result to o si Minister at matul Tiako rakatebel time malmukto kar atal ngarbelaw. Madangel programmer tiral amal di el tuntal talsis la duration like tal OC. Even though OC di 2 days ngari programs ra eringil about a week amang tiawabol ka mga program. Ngara ko kora plans lorula wa PVA maluba ka officer ka wal encourage rar atrabalul marula kora utrolir ang kalang raklel el ku take advantage tal crowd niya merbela ra sila ka table time.
Sulang, mlarnya PVA actually ngol seol mo omrur sell day market. Sell day market unfortunately select الادل غانيا غاميتيل منو ثرور تريال غوك vendors normally تريال vendors a night market or maybe local vendors لغانيا مالغورا strict guidelines رنgi ndaka dos pe plastic ndaka do beto kaigel telang tingila it's an ocean conference Minnesota make sure tirial vendors meet a certain criteria. I can share that with the media later. Mung sige ta kora tara dorurungi agidire galmla selgonia vice president agiro lobantir trigel adra magit mlara eungela mlara erongul ma aldadu lobangela koro state tak mo al time betangara along island mung traffic is going to be between erongul ma egal hotels ngaranga malal that's probably imol basol ko governor order am designated it mun se adal mo adra magit more say. So we can encourage our other real mo market during that time. Malong Island is an ideal spot. Ngarat kuladao, club parking. Hindi alsugo man som mo market se ka other dala la PV ngi magyol ngi tambora Coro State mga permitter kami. Hindi ka complicated. Kung fill a form, kabinura ka lakal with them la designator director Maggie. El gora header seguido el urior ma alakan director tewid ma el designator area kami komla tentor kami o magit mang seguida gora extend tragel guk bolorula PVR trigel adra magit
Hindi talaga bolgola sa kung na-identify til adang nga uriyo loban tari ng tamo sumtamol trawa kala mga tamo
sel el venue ragi de la day market amo ngara madal tial nem utul olbira glulaw el mabdula sel corner el mabdula gid le post office
mutal ka parga
YC din swakal el mabla takat mo segi drogil areal mer engun mera agid le tial gym amo probably completely sealed el ditrigal adalo badge as ilmor alsel it's not open to the public Malimor Trigel correct chief of staff. It's going to be only for because of security reasons and Trigel low badge ngania certain access al sabil morning including al sala building. Ngania sabil mor al sala they're limiting numbers ra mor al sala building ngania sabil mo soyus markukur dia. Agel amo ko makal masadra next week ngania ka rosel daw ra badges. Trigel cook head of state ngania ta telel emerald mel Trigel cook vendors marat.
The last question na sorry, go ahead.
Mang tiang alsuko mang mo kora alsim alwaisel ol koni administrate mutul. Ati kabulkul waseng dia kate elet gidal adrablu mo o mese o ring sa aldaudu. Sel PCC cafeteria. Segi dawablal kora designated del se edel morngi o mesa waseng ral aldaudu amra el ra alsela plenary. Magel information gidel tel or ocean si edel mor o si edel mor segi yang maya. Segi da basol sa edel morning. Mang gida minister betul wasang wal kuram ol si segi del di tirgelo batches among. Di sum dia ka batcher kawing sa emel moray gidel PCC cafeteria yang arse orange o mesagel al dodo ol momrar gidel tiagidel our ocean conference.
That's so may luck na
I get a block club sale. I get a block club sale April 13, 14.
13 and 14. More yet a screen.
Oo,
Yung Arcel Domicile. Okay. The last question nga kamara Minister Education. Dahil hindi na kalol kita endra school. Maybe adin te alawan mandar so. Oo, mangara ko mlakot maklil ko ra wangara take ra nga school el time el take the exercise na COVID ngara ko expectar na kalmaral mel buil.
Thank you for noticing I was here. That's a really good question because we are in the fourth quarter now. And as you all know, the month of May is going to be full of promotions and graduation ceremonies. Right now, we are finalizing revisions to our calendar based on what has happened in the past, particularly with the COVID. We have rescheduled our Iowa testing. That'll now be held May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It was originally scheduled earlier. We are also rescheduling the Palau Achievement Test, which is given to graduating seniors and to 8th graders for placement purposes, and that'll be rescheduled at a later date. Beyond that, promotions and graduations will be held as the regular schedule. There'll be no change to that. So Palau High School will be graduating on May 19th, I believe, and promotions at the other schools will have the week prior to that. The main thing which we're looking at is the transition from the traditional calendar to our year-round calendar. Classes will begin on July 13th, which is earlier than what most people are accustomed to thinking of. And in order to do something, I'd like to just, if I could take a minute, let you know what's going to be forthcoming. We're becoming much more digitally oriented, and what the COVID has pointed out to us is that the very important part of education. While it's not designed in any way to replace face-to-face, we still anticipate regular face-to-face instruction. However, we are going to be incorporating more use of technology in the classrooms. We have 4 major initiatives. Number one, we have revised our entire social studies curriculum from grade kindergarten. We are beginning kindergarten this year on July 13th, but we're beginning a new revision of curriculum in the social studies all the way from kindergarten through grade 12. And in doing so, we are electing to use electronic textbooks for the upper grades. For the little ones will still be using the regular textbooks, but in the higher grades, grade 3 up, we're going with electronic books, which will have significant advantages over the traditional books. For example, if you're reading a text in your 5th grade classroom, you come across a word you don't know, you touch it, you get the dictionary definition. Also, it'll give you appropriate links in which you can then use to expand your knowledge through enrichment or repeating something over to help you understand. Those books will be sold to us as a 6-year contract. So basically, we buy them and we hold the rights to them for 6 years, which is the normal life of a textbook. So that will be a big change. We are also undergoing to have reborn the Achieve 3000 series, which we were piloting a few years ago. And we're going to be using that in all the high school classes as well as in the elementary. And what that is a system of designed to determine the reading level of each individual student and prepare materials for the classes in all the classes, social studies, science, English, be able to read at their own level and then enter into discussions and writings with students over the different grade levels. So you don't just hand a book to someone to read. They use this and it will, based on their own individual reading score, which we are going to be taking on a daily basis, be able to determine a reading for them, which helps them understand and then enter into a conversation with students who may be reading at a much higher level. So it's designed to help the students improve their reading as well as understand the material. The other way is we look at our achievement tests. We look at all of our content area scores are much lower than we think they should be. And one of the primary factors in those is the ability to read. So we are introducing individualized reading program, again, in all of the elementary schools, which will be coming in as a full academic course. Individualized in that the students will be able to download books into their cell phone or tablet computers and then be able to read those at their leisure. There will be class time dedicated strictly for reading. And then at the conclusion of these, at reading the individual book, they have the option of taking an examination, which will examine their reading comprehension as well as their vocabulary. They can receive a score on that. All of that's entered into a centralized computer database so the teachers can evaluate how they're progressing and give us a day-to-day reading on how their reading levels are going. Because currently we take a reading test in August and then one in March, which really doesn't tell us much until it's too late. So we're going to do this on an individualized basis. And finally, we are going to be introducing student record service, which is also electronic, where the teachers will have, rather than a paper grade book, they'll have an electronic grade book on their computer, in their phone, which they can enter the grades in. It will automatically be transferred into a database, which will then be used to put out progress reports and or report cards and transcripts, which are all going to be individually designed for our schools. The advantage to this is communication at a much more rapid level, in that if a parent wants to know exactly how their child is doing at any given day, the teachers can simply send them electronically, if they have an email address, send them a photograph, basically, of their child's grades. So it says everything that's assigned, everything that's in, everything that might be missing. So they know exactly what is going on in the classroom. And that can be done at any time. The same thing with report cards. We're hoping to get as many email addresses as we can so we can send out the report cards electronically. And we have built into our calendar at the end of each quarter a records day, which we would hope all the grades would be completed by that time, and so we would be able to send the grades out within a day or two of the end of the quarter, rather than waiting for a month or two, which we're doing now due to our old system. So all of these things are designed to come in as a part of the new calendar. They're just, that's one small part of it, but it's obviously looking to say the lessons we learned during the COVID was that, electronics are here and we can use the technology to improve instruction. Okay. Right. Also, could I say one thing about the Oceans Conference? Because of security and traffic, we are not going to be holding classes at any of the MOE schools located in Karor. So that's J.B. Harris, Karor Elementary School, Palau High School, and Munes. They will not have face-to-face classes. They will be getting 2 days of online instruction that day. And the day after the conference, luckily we scheduled for our quarter break. So we have a break that day. Obviously, this
Good
won't
timing.
affect Peleliu, Angaur, or the Southwest Islands, or Kayango. Now, Babaltap schools, we're still trying to determine whether or not we're going to be able to hold face-to-face instruction, and that'll be based on our final determination as to how many of our buses are going to be used for transportation for the conference. Okay. Thank you.
Sala Ministry of Education mal ngila report ringin gire like il PSL development as we go into transitional mortial year-round school. Di mal nga sulit na lutal mo makatak lagi la dilungol wasi mantia ka school ay erul club say April 14 ma 14 ang mo dia ka in person face to face ra Miyuns Elementary School, George B. Harris, may gagi dali Core Elementary School, Mapalawa High School. Okay, dia. Okay, madang malmasa. Next question.
The last one, that would be my that'll be it. Tingi mutra ko kawe minister at matula. Ngaringi aldado el almarael el ngara specifically ngara House of Delegates soril change ra sel gukto ko ra PNMS. Tourism aklol component ra PNMS. Especially sel waseng aringi seludo del sois blogi wa tourism el niamo offset ay el loss el niam le result ra tella alla makera le korka wa say kamna mention lo say ngaria challenge ra el bulu niam le traditional market sergidal kira la restrictions ringira la tourism el merbela ndi kadidira kalmadingi lo kaya report el selman marura economic report the marura graduate school la say kada expect ra klolo marail and mostatra 2023 mang question sa ministry ra niya handle tourism malamol malos ospera o sisiu el musisiu atención el mo market tra lur belau mo re ke kida el destination alu ko malamol ko ko rati ngarsel mingil base ekal flight tang mo sabi el marar o ingang sel ko nga sel expecter ngi luto dal kirel no kiwa tourism el may obiser ka ngoriol kirel sel mutelo si karolel at the same level of intensity or alu ba ko korati mingil kurang ara sige to si halo to ngil mo sel open egel area takanta kaya sa mabla other thing.
Sulang malungi lagarim. Interesting you're linking it to PNMS. That aside, effort to that will stop. We are continuing to make sure more source markets that continue. Now the challenges, as I said, are flights. So we're also working with, for example, Aurelio Mangala Singapore, make sure we're on the same list. Loban Trir, Msibira, Adril Mertegal return ng Modegal Ngarsel quarantine list. So those are the background Uriol Gimorulo Mangala countries. What's different from now, pre-COVID, ang aramo ko di mas asko gimo. All time everybody put up their guard. Mangarala each destination, kung mo dadu ragay kital destination, so kami dome sa kama na drop COVID kama magina mo ngaram please kung mo tungo mo sa mo sa so Philippine for example. Ngani agel ko kira dal adadul in the back room was consider kama matmul sa sigidal daw. Once kung tutura gagida mo sa elas ko gin marayan. Now the challenges are gidra, for example, European market, marigel ako abayot. Di alsa lang marigel marakwa mal merbela. It's one leg. A challenge are gida tirgel ko ngara Australia, Europe, require mo 2 stops, sometimes 3. Adome serinyak pulet sa ngara adoy sel May. Ngara adoy sel marahuri ping and require 1 stop rahuri ping ko ngada requirements sa huri ping raw el merbela. So that's 3 requirements. Amura Korea mga sisiu, mga Australia mura Korea Taipei. So it's a matter of us working with agents and working with governments. El trial is agidal restrictions matamo sabira adal freely travel between. I hope that answer to answer your question, are we going to change?
Let me clarify.
Clarify
maybe
question.
Adol ko ni sel marketing
Strategy?
or narrative. Our selling point, of course, routes is another. Sell market, sell content. Are you changing that a little bit, or are you?
We're modifying it a little bit. Let me answer it this way. So, kita traditionally the diving market. Okay, so that's our bread and butter. Ocean type activities. So what we've been doing now, actually, Yoro Lubangala state government will develop other land-based products. For example, Kadoro Lubangila, nganya Clol grant, the Lino Rambrigel, EDA grant, and Molngaseo, Adrangar Alonga, Padrol Au Matoday, Edirekan nganya parts Ramalgayo, Mabibira states, and Morip Sigla grant. Elgora up facelift, Igel sites or tir. Agil attractions, signage, agidre galoro lubangela operators of Munsel Monia other ultra artifacts, so what we're trying to do is modify the tourism more community based. See that one aspect of game adding in mortal tourism. Legib lam tiganit omsindal other merbelawa oblalang, for example. This requires a training or tour guide. And that's where WIOA comes in. We're trying to align training programs on PCC because it requires training our tour guide and mamasawa the sites. Biota dimdul wase bora obla lang. Hindi ka matingi kamle ka venor. Obora imilig hindi ka wan ala adlas lungul mok mukam worte lang mosawa dringi more tourist. So it's a product development phase at ang trial spread out tourism more land-based and not diving-based. Umamtabre lang ulak tilo ay live aboard fully booked for the next 6 months. Lendia ka issue ra adal mil kill 7 days to 10 days il malalwak la. Agal issue ra quarantine adakal affected till and civil mail COVID to kill another day 5 or 6 days. Hindi tirigel kukti FIT me marayal tirigida affected. And that's what we're trying to grow. Leng askum tamel di solil 3 days COVID and hindi kasi return for another 4 days, 5 days. And those are the kind of issues we're facing right now. In terms of the marketing, my strategy, other than building new products, we have to stick with our bread and butter, which is ocean-based. Like I said, sira COVID and batokol kong balia tilob, mostly from the Chinese market. Yeah, China direkal open, and what I'm hearing in direkal osisiul for another year. I hope that kind of answers your question. We're limited right now. Rambrigel. Rambrigel is completely open. One thing we have to understand too, Omasin, the operators are allow a single market operators. Kita siloed. A difference are kita magwa mahawaya. Agwa mahawaya other ko ya mira tumon. Tumura way gigi. Kita are other ngarbela lultra rakuk shabal maling rashabal. They're dealing with JTB, HIS. Our other ngara Korea, they're dealing with Hana Tour. Our other more Amerigela for Sam's Tours, material fish and fins, okti Amerigel. Nung dekal sa murtik mo para shabal, languk dekal katmok multra shabal. Nung sige tato ko malas mal direkal transition or other mo kom karang open up services or kumul direkal mo si era other western may avail those services. It's direct limitation or get our operators.
Thank you for that question. Ang kagida Minister matuon mal lo korab ngil makatakliak ti kamal rang asulir tegi dal idea diversify nga kamlo segi dial discussion og dial obalang and this cultural tourism ambral gida dalo mis ringil lang maral kora wow not meron ko praming segi gid information gid like al iuisen ngara ikagidel obalang segidel aklobal kultiri kan ania bread and butter and tingkira dal tiral ko mes diversify malin based. Thank you.
Maybe I'll add one more thing. One thing I'll give more of the governors. Amalasamal nganing sel idea mobol ngania one unified fee. Mobol biotra sila alboringa taur orior, and I can say this in temlosiga other options er tiro malal bakmal. Di whether belawa every state nganya ko ngodol luul. So we're trying to work with the governors mo kami bol nganya one standard dal kora SOPs edolobang matsku mong adamul albakra o charigin morang ayangaling hindi ka lumara it's permit kalil sa mo wana permit kalil bor wana stand nganya designated mooring sites agel sab edo matakal sa edol murura each state agel lurura ongoing.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm sorry,
Miltitaw, Agri Kamara, Minister of Finance.
Right.
Under RPPL 11-18, the responsibility of Power, Energy, and Water Administration moved to your ministry. Can you explain why? Was it necessary? And I have two questions, sorry. The other question is, can you explain the $200,000 subsidy to PPUC who are eligible under this law, and how can we qualify?
All right, thank you for the question. On the first matter regarding the move of what is previously known as PEA to the Ministry of Finance and renamed to PEWA, basically the move was more for efficiency. In the first part, the PEA is the tariff regulator for PUC when it comes to energy. We found the need for regulation, tariff regulation for water as well, which is also provided by the PPUC. So the words we use are, we are creating a single regulator. So instead of PEA, it's going to be PEWA. So this is additional responsibility for PEA, the name change, and that comes with a lot of assistance to help strengthen the office, which is a very small office right now. So this will also help the office to build capacity, and moving it to the Ministry of Finance will enable this analytical capacity for this office to grow, because they will be able to tap into our existing personnel to support the activity. So this was a lot of the background for the move, and we felt that it would just create a lot more efficiencies. For instance, instead of having two regulators dealing with PUC, we have one regulator that covers both water and energy with PUC. So it's also efficient in the dealing with PUC, that they don't have to deal with two different regulators that may come up with two different ways of regulating PUC, and that also creates an inefficiency on their side. So that was a lot of the understanding that we had when we made that request. The second question, if I've answered the first one correctly, is a change, and I'm glad you brought it up. We're not ready to announce it, but they did change the eligibility requirements for the Lifeline Subsidy Program. I believe that's what you're referring to. So basically, under the previous program, depending on your income, you would be able to access this subsidy, the Lifeline subsidy, which covers both energy and water. So what the Congress did was increase the income qualification. So instead of like 4,000 per person in the household, it's now like 6,000 per person. We'll announce the details later. So there are two ways of that PUC has been subsidized. One is a direct subsidy to PUC to lower the overall rate for everyone. And that means that people who can afford to pay a higher rate are also getting a benefit. It's very expensive, and our policy is that we don't support that approach. So we let PUC increase the rates, and then we provide specific assistance to those who need it most. And that's the Lifeline Subsidy Program. So it was not as used previously, so we increased the threshold. So we're using the same amount of money, but we're reaching more people who need the assistance. So a targeted subsidy approach, that's our preferred policy, which OAK agreed with.
So lang ko. Lahat niya pinagyan ko the questions. Kaya, okay. So lang, Minister of Finance. Ano ka diyan, Mr. Tulang Minister of Young. Next week. Kimata ko, manom sa ko, Madam Marcel, final part program. Gele birthday announcements, mga tigil celebrate the birthday sil sa nga Officer Alvin Ingraclira, Ministry of Justice, nga Miss Shirley Kelamalra, Ministry of Education, Miss Delisa Briculra, Ministry of Health and Human Services. Biya ko siya nga kaya hindi natin may takla. Okay, so happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear government employees. Happy birthday to you. Masulang ko sige na mo press conference sa mga next week. Sige na yung may President Whips Jr. Mangmal mo to ka laungil ay sa laban may question sa mo si Adalo Geratir. Komal masulang, Diyos lo makaltanga tarigita ro ko yung makuka next week. Thank you.